What's up, everyone? It's Luke. I'm going to be doing a quick deck list overview of this Grass Dragon Link deck because I've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's nice to know what certain cards are included for. Obviously, we have our Ash Blossoms, Ogre, Gammas, Maxi, Driver. You know, this is your typical hand trap package just to give you a fighting chance against like Maxi, and you know, when your opponent goes first. In that regard too, we also have Dark Ruler No More just to instantly break boards of like Sprite players or even like the Mirror oftentimes. And we also have Called by the Grave, Crops Out Designator. These are basically played entirely for Ash Blossom and Maxi. Just because, you know, getting your full combo if you just have like one of these in your hand, it's really great. On top of that, we have Black Metal Dragon. This is our starter. Not really our ideal starter, just something that we can go into at any point in the combo, and it works, just because it goes and fetches a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and that can let us climb pretty easily into Borland Dragon or Romulus or what have you. We also have Xiamin, the Punk Engine, for instant level 8 synchros like Chaos Ruler, which will kickstart the Ishizu package for milling with Kelbeck or Agido, or shuffling in with Mudora or Keldo. Speaking of Chaos Dragons, we do have the White and Black Dragons. These guys give us a instant starter with Chaos Space or Starliege Seifert, which is kind of the backbone of the deck, one of the biggest draws of playing Dragon Link as the engine for Grass Ishizu Punk, because you have so many one-card starters. Like, not only do you have that Grass looks greener, you have Emergency Teleport, you have Quick Launch, you have just normal summoning Xiamin, you have normal summoning Seifert. Like, there's just so many one-card full combo that you can pretty reliably always be comboing, if not extending through your opponent's interruptions. And that's great. That's just a great feeling. Like, if your opponent doesn't have like a blowout Max C or like a Dimensional Shifter or like a really well-placed Gamma or something, you can probably push through it. And one of the cards that helps do that is Fairy Tale Snow. If we mill it, we can essentially go ham and get a bunch of free link climbing fodder, a bunch of interruptions, a good synchro fodder, and it basically, you don't need it, but if you mill it, it's just so crushing to get it. We have the Rocket Engine alongside Rocket Synchron and Rocket Tracer and Absolutter Dragon and such. They basically just make a good instant level 8 or even level 9 synchro. It's how we're going to end up getting out the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss and the Savage Dragon in the extra deck. Finding Tracer is essentially the basic Dragon Link goal. You know, like the very first thing that you're going to want to try and establish is how do you get to Tracer, how do you get to making a level 8 for free. And you do that essentially by climbing into Striker Dragon and then Romulus to fetch out your field spells, to dump Absolutter Dragon, to fetch the Tracer, to summon the Tracer, to summon Recharger, and then go from there. Then we have the Seifert. It's one card starter, also searches up a Chaos Dragon Levianeer if we send, say, like Seifert and a Tracer, or just like a Chaos Ruler that we can't really go anywhere with, and then you can overlay that into a Zombie Vampire and kickstart your milling. There's a lot of things that you can do with this guy. He's just a great starter. Chamber Dragon Maid is not a full combo starter, but it is a minimum summons combo and also an extension in our mill plan. It works with Dragon Maid Tidying, because you normal summon it or special summon it and you go get a Tidying, and you can set that's an interruption for your opponent in just one normal summon. If your opponent max sees, this is the best starter that you can have. It also, with Tidying and its secondary effect, will give you a lot of chances to outplay Dark Ruler No More, because Dark Ruler No More says that you can't chain monster effects to it, but you can chain traps to it, and then you could chain, say, Red Eyes Dark or Hot Red Dragon Archfiend to it and negate the Dark Ruler, and then you don't lose your entire end board, which will save your bacon a lot, especially because then your opponent probably really needs to start scrambling to find an out to Borderland Dragon, which is a tall task. We have the Ishizu package. This gives us a lot of extra mills off of like punks or grass. It gives us a little extra graveyard interruption, because that's a huge thing in today's meta game. And yeah, a lot of times you'll find yourself with a lot of extra interruptions, even if you don't have any hand traps and your opponent's playing like the Mirror or just any kind of like grass punk Ishizu deck where they'll like mill you, and then suddenly you have like Medora or Keldo in the graveyard, and then like their combo falls apart. We also have a Destrudo. This is another good extender that just goes and gives you oftentimes a level 3 or a 4 Dark Dragon, which can be used for Striker Dragon, but sometimes it can be a higher level if that's something you care about. Like, we don't really take advantage of it in any way with this list, but if you wanted to make like a Baron de Fleur in your combo line, you could probably fit it in, because it can become a level 6 if you target Rocket Synchron. Absurrouter Dragon is another part of the Rocket. You find it with the Dragon Ravine. Either you discard it to Dragon Ravine, or you discard it, or you send it from the deck off of Dragon Ravine, and then you go get Tracer and start your combo. Levianeer gives us a lot of grind game. If you don't need to dump your Absurrouter, you can often dump Levianeer or mill Levianeer, or, you know, get it into your graveyard somehow, and then you can get it back with Seifert, and it's really good. It gives you a lot of non-target destruction that can be recurred again and again. It gives you hand rips, which are just absurd because your opponent might just lose their entire starter, or, you know, like their board breaker that they needed to beat you. And yeah, that's a wonderful feeling when that happens. Foxy Tune is a part of the Punk engine, but is also just really good. It's an extension on its own, and it lets you discard a card from your hand, which can often put things that you do want in there. Like if you have a Garnet in your hand, like say Psyframe Driver, or you want to get an extension from like a Dragon Maid Tidying when you've already milled a Chamber Dragon Maid, Foxy Tune does that for you, and she does it really well. She puts out a guy that can search for... She puts out Xiamin, and then she searches for Deer Note, which gives you another card you can discard from your hand if you needed further discard fodder. Grasslook Screener is our, you know, easy instant win button starter. Going second, Dark Ruler No More blows out Sprite. Triple Tactics Talent, if our opponent is going to be hand trapping us like a Maxi or something, we'll want to like go ahead and use the Forceful Sentry mode of this spell and just, you know, hand rip their starter or hand rip something else that, you know, we don't want them to see, and hopefully it'll give us something that we can do to get back into the game. Chaos Space is super good. It gives us the ability to start our combo, but it also gives us the ability to recycle our in-board pieces when they get outed, because that will happen. Ravine fetches just about anything in the deck, and we search for it with our combo into this guy, Romulus, and this fetches our, or special summons our rockets that we fetched from like Absurrouter Dragon. Crucial part of the end board. This fetches for Xiamin to start the Punk engine. This fetches for a rocket to give us, you know, the starters that we need for climbing into Romulus, or even just baiting like Maxis or something. It's good to have these kinds of spell starters, you know, the quick launches, the grasses, the emergency teleports, because if our opponent tries to Max C in response to one of those, or like Ash Blossom, we can just Gamma them because we won't have any monsters out yet. And then from there, it's just extra deck. Savage Dragon is the Omni Negate, probably about the best negate in the entire deck, aside from, like, of course, Borrelin Dragon, if, like, you're trying to negate a monster. But Savage Dragon is where we want to be. Typically, we'll end up with 2 or 3 counters. Typically 3 counters, because I do play Tri-Burst Dragon. And it negates anything, and it's really good. Chaos Ruler is the best card in the deck. It's basically how we're going to get into our mills. You make it with any generic materials that count up to 8, and yeah, then you go ham. Hot Red Dragon, we're going to be making it with our typically Chaos Ruler and Rocket Synchron later on in the game, when, like, you resurrect your Chaos Ruler to his effect, and then you can target it with Borrelin Savage Dragon to resurrect the Rocket Synchron, and that instantly makes this guy. Zombie Vampire, this guy goes in with the Punk Engine, and he mills you a bunch of extra cards and lets you get free extensions, and he's just really good. Vampires are cool, Castlevania is a cool game, and yeah. Guard Dragon Pisty, this is a part of our combo. You want to set up the gate, essentially, as it's called, with either Romulus and Striker Dragon pointing into the same direction as Pisty, or with Tri-Gate Dragon, or Triple Burst Dragon, not Tri-Gate Dragon, Triple Burst Dragon and your Pisty pointing at the same spot. And then you'll be able to extend. You'll get any monster, or any dragon monster, from Banish or Graveyard, and it lets you pretty much immediately climb into Borrelin from there, but you can probably extend further depending on the circumstances. Striker is your starter, gets you your boot sector launch, and it also gives you a lot of grind game with Rocket Recharger. Like, if your opponent outs your Borrelin Dragon, you can link into a Striker Dragon and then blow it up and add back your Recharger, and then discard your Recharger and target Striker Dragon, then special summon Borrelin Dragon, and it's really disgusting. Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is another inboard piece. It's not super important, you know, it's realistically not something you're going to be going into a ton. This is really good for, like, if your opponent has forced you into a situation of needing, like, minimal summons, or just if you have, like, a lot of extensions. It's kind of like at the polar ends of, like, ooh, I don't have a lot of stuff to go in, or ooh, I'd have, you know, a ton. You know, if you have a lot of extra extensions, you can make Hieratic Seal and then count up into Borrelin with additional extenders, but that's not always the case. It's just a good floating tool, good removal, and that's really all you need from it. IP is a crucial part of the inboard. It lets you go into a chain link 2 or spell speed 2 Nightmare Unicorn to remove something, discard things, and that's really good. Dark is a little bit of a niche filler. You want to have Dark when you need to make the arrows that she provides, or he provides, I actually don't know, that they provide, but you can't link your Striker Dragon into, like, an IP, or you have, like, an Ashizu, which is, you know, not a Dark, so you can't make, like, or a Dragon, so you can't make, like, Romulus or whatnot. It gives you the ability to go into it very consistently, and also the monster that you grab from your opponent's graveyard, if that's applicable, can be overlaid into the Zombie Vampire because of its effect. From there we have Triple Burst Dragon. This lets us get to our combo really consistently. We play this over the Delingerous Dragon line because oftentimes we're going to want to be going into Chaos Ruler, and then Chaos Ruler plus our, you know, downward pointing arrows from Romulus is typically going to be made into a Triple Burst Dragon with Pisty pointing, and that's how we'll end up with Borrelin Dragon. From there we have just Access Code Talker, you know, generic link climbing finisher, really good for going second, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, the deck I've shown in a lot of replays on my channel. You can look and see the combo lines themselves, but that's about all of the card selection. I hope that this helped.